Today we have something very exciting. This is a brand new bike that you're going to be seeing on the channel, and it's one that is very familiar to us, a type of bike that we absolutely love because Andy over here, one of our favorite guys in all of Colorado, is a lifelong CT70 enthusiast and expert. And this particular Trail 70 is one that I've bought with my own money and that Andy and I are going to go through and completely rebuild. This is something that we did in the past with a charity build bike that we spent some time riding, that Andy completely rebuilt and turned into something pretty incredible. And we're going to do basically the same process here with this CT70. Now the idea with this bike is to do something that Andy calls a preservation, not a restoration, right?
Mm-hmm. So we're going to make everything perfect in the driveline first. We work from the motor build out. I don't get rollers. I don't do anything until I know the motor is where it's supposed to be. Driveline, wheels, suspension, framework. Through that process, we hand clean just about 100% of every part that we put together on it. And it is really more about the preservation side of things than we build these as riders. That's why we do these type of builds. If you want something that's perfect and powder coated and set up for your office, that's great. These are built to ride, and they will be up above 11,000 feet here in Colorado. That's what I build these things for.
Because these are impeccably versatile bikes, things that you can actually, even as a full-grown adult, get out, use, and enjoy. And one of my favorite things about the preservation type builds that Andy does here at his shop is that you maintain the original paint, because one of my favorite quotes of yours is that the paint is only original once. And what we're going to do with this bike is wet sand and clean up this original paint, polish it, do a little bit of touch up in some of the spots where it makes sense, but still leave some of that original patina to show that this is indeed an original paint bike. And then, like you said, the mechanical aspect of things is also a big part of it. And
First and foremost.
I'm going to shoot a lot of this process as we go through it, get some video clips so we can talk about it. If you can't wait for that, check out the video series that we've done in the past on a CT70. But this is the engine. Cases split, so this is the first thing that we're tackling. And one of the cool things about this particular CT70 is that this one is a 4-speed, not a 3-speed automatic. So it's a 4-speed with an actual manual clutch.
You bet.
And that's pretty rare, isn't it?
It is. This was really only made 2.5, 3 years in those first KO, K1 models. This will be a fun and different build than what we did before. 3-speed automatic is what we did on the charity bike. This is a 4-speed manual. And you can hear my dog Malo getting involved as well.
He's protecting the farm is what he's doing.
He is.
But we're going to do a couple cool things with this bike in this particular build. Most of what we're going to do here is going to be all original Honda components. So this exhaust, all these chrome pieces, these shocks, we're taking some of the best pieces out of Andy's extensive parts catalog and using original Honda components to make a really sweet bike, a really nice condition of bike. And there's a few things that are pretty cool that I like we're doing. So this swing arm, this is a big thing because in 1970, that was the first year for these
Yes, the
CT70s.
KO model actually had, this was not boxed in like this. This was just one straight piece of steel that was welded in here for triangulation. Those swing arms were very soft. They would always bend. You had any kind of fall at all, and it would literally just tweak. So this is off a K1, where Honda had done this. And then also, too, the same with the top of the seat. Instead of it just being the cover that covers the tank and the two fasteners on either side, they triangulated this whole thing. And that little gas plate that goes over and bolts...
Which I believe we have on this table over here.
Actually, it's right here, Case. You'll see what I did here.
Oh, boy. This is your media blaster, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, very cool.
And that used to be black.
Yeah, so this is a cool part. And how is it oriented? Is it oriented like so?
Nope. So the gas tank, that's your filler cap. And this is where it bolts to the frame.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And then the seat base sits on top of this. So the older models, K1 or KOs, and some of the K1s, this was cut off right here. This was not a plate that went underneath the seat. So this plate was essentially floating. This was also one of the worst areas that the frame would literally, if you were one of those guys jumping them back in the day, they would bend right here.
I feel like you knew some of those guys and were those guys.
Yeah, no, I've got the frames to prove it. They're still here with me, so.
But what's cool is that we're taking some of these original Honda components, but ones that came on later models, and applying them to this
earlier
first year 1970 Trail 70 to make it an all-around better bike using Honda parts. But another cool thing that we're going to do with this particular build is set it up such that it will use a few modern parts, a few upgraded parts.
Oh, and this is the candy right here. This will be fun.
So one thing that I did end up going out to get was this top end kit and cylinder kit that's going to make it an 88cc instead of a 72cc, right?
Correct.
And what's cool is that we're still maintaining the Honda factory bottom end. And what would you say? Would you say that overall these components, because you've messed around with a lot of the 140cc clone motors that people put in CT70s?
I have.
Would you say that these are better quality pieces?
Yes, because I still like, Honda's build quality for the time and the period is still phenomenal. That's why these things last the way they do. This being a kit that's also, this is not a Chinese kit, it's a Malaysia kit. And the quality of the build in this is really, it's bolt-on happy power. I do all sorts of stuff to the stock 72cc Trail 70s. The best thing you guys tips is to deck the cylinder on those things. You can't mill a head on a Trail 70. You could this because it's all aluminum. The Trail 70 heads have a steel insert. So to mill a head is not a good idea there. Raising compression on any standard Trail 70 is the easiest, most inexpensive little thing you can do to wake it up.
So there's even a lot that you can do to these factory motors, but the nice thing with this setup is that out of the box you get some really nice components here with some sweet upgrades, but still it's primarily a Honda engine, and I am going to keep the original head and cylinder.
Yes, which we do have, and that's all part of keeping this thing for real, but it really does help to, we're not getting rid of it, we're not it is part of the bike and we'll always travel with it.
Yeah,
you can have that option to put it back on if you wanted to.
Those original parts will still live with the bike, so at some point if I want to put it together that way I can, but this, especially me being a pretty much full-size adult, this will just make it a little bit more powerful, a little more rideable, which will be pretty nice. And there's a few cool upgrades that come with these and the time in between when these bikes were originally manufactured and now. That, for example, the bearing setup on this tiny little cam in the head runs on a ball bearing, which the original cam does not, right?
No, it was just run in a machine sleeve where the cam has an oil groove running through it, and it's done by oil film. This is definitely makes it very smooth, rev up a little faster. But also too for you guys out there, the reason we like to do these kits here is our altitude. We lose 15% on anything that gulps air here in Colorado as a minimum. So making them run right is really crucial. This is certainly, which Case knows, this is my specialty, is jetting carbs for our altitude here. I run two different sets of jets, one where we're at right here at about a mile high, and then another above 8,500 feet. I'll run a leaner main. Pilot stays the same, but that'll take me up above 11,000 feet.
Well, and those are easy things to do on the fly.
They are.
You can even pull
These
over on the
carbs
trail.
are literally built to, I could change that out on the trail if I had to.
Which is one of the cool things about them. Another improvement that I like on this head is that there is an oil seal on the valve stem on both the intake and exhaust side for this head, which the original head only has it on the exhaust side.
Only has it on the exhaust side, yep.
Yeah, and there's a few things, a few little hot rodding tips and things that Andy does that we'll use to eke out even more power. So for example, between the carb and the intake manifold, Andy actually goes in and matches the diameters. So that
on everything, the gasket, the intake, you can do it literally from the back of the carburetor through to the tip of the exhaust. So the more uniform you make all of that between these points, you get better flow. Better flow is better power. And again, these are all things that you can get away with not doing at sea level. There's just a bigger gulp of air. But up here, we almost have to do these little tricks just to maintain our ability to run good.
Something else I love that you were talking about doing, and I think is a really cool thing. So right now, if you look at the spark plug, you can see that the open end is facing away from the combustion chamber. And Andy was saying that back in the day, one of the things they would do was shim it so that once it was torqued, the open end of the spark plug would be facing toward the combustion chamber and potentially get you just a little bit better ignition.
Just everything's smoother, a better bang for the buck. Old school trickery. This is nothing but, they used to have copper washers, spacers. You could actually get kits back in the day that would actually, you could just, get your crush washer set, undo it, and then start spacing out to get your, where you want that or need that plug. And with the head on, because you don't have to have that, Case asked that very question. So what you do is you Sharpie, just know on what side the spark plug, where you're...
Mark the body of
mark the body and start shimming. But that's really, so with this is torqued probably another quarter turn, it's going to be almost to that intake, but we almost want it kind of shooting right between them. And that way it just gets that bigger pow, because that's where it's all starting to come in.
And look, for some people, these little things and these little old school hot rodding tricks being done on an 88cc tiny little CT70 motor that is by far not a racing bike might seem like a ridiculous thing to spend time and energy doing, but it does make a difference. It makes for a happier running bike. And at the end of the day, we're only doing this entire setup for fun and no other reason. So we might as well take the time to try and refine it and make the happiest running bike that we can. And that was the thing that impressed me the most about the CT70 that you built as the charity bike, the one that there's already a series of on the channel, is how happy that motorcycle rode. For a bike that was over 50 years old, it rode like brand new, maybe even better than new.
Probably better. That's 45 years of working on these things.
Yeah, you've been doing this a long while.
For you novice engine builders out there, this is really part of the process of blueprinting. That's all I'm doing, is just making everything where it should be. There's a lot of deburring in these cases. There's a lot of, case flattening. I prep every surface so that nothing leaks. But the biggest thing is even these little tricks like the spark plug and all that. Up here at our altitude, these are all the little things that are chiseling away at that 15% that's gone.
Yeah.
And we can actually get that back. So, but it's just the little cheater stuff that really matter.
Well, and the other reason that with this bike, I'm wanting to go so above and beyond with putting it back together, maintaining the original patina, but improving some of the mechanical aspects and also refining it as far into the extreme as we can with how it operates, is because this is a bike that I plan to hold on to and never let go of.
It's a keeper.
I don't mean to sound too dramatic, but my thought with this bike is that at some point, if I have a kid, this is the bike that I would teach them how to ride on, because they're very easy to ride on. And if they have kids, I would teach those kids how to ride on it. And who knows?
It runs through the family case, nieces, nephews, cousins, relatives. I've taught more people on these bikes It has been really the forte of why I build these things is the giggles that I get out of people riding a motorcycle for the first time, and it's usually one of these.
Well, and if I hold on to this bike forever, which would be my plan, and if at some point I get too old to ride street bikes, this could even be the last bike that I ever ride. So again, not to sound too dramatic, but I have big plans for this machine. And it's a machine that I'm really excited about because this comes out of an era when these were simple enough that you really could keep them running forever. One of my favorite fun facts about these bikes that you told me back in the day was that you have the tools you need in the toolkit under the seat and the information you need in the owner's manual to do a valve adjustment on this bike, which you could even do on the side of the trail.
You could. It's that silly. That's how they were built back in the day and how they wanted you to maintain them.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, back in the day, I can't tell you how many times me and my friends were out on these things, and we were miles from the house. And if something went bad or wrong, you're walking. And that's not much fun pushing a bike. We pulled spark plugs on the trail. We'd clean them. We'd bring a little piece of sandpaper with us. Anything that, especially for a set of points.
Yeah, so they're very cool machines, ones that you can keep going forever because they're so simple enough even, and rugged enough that you can actually run them without a battery. They don't need the battery to run.
Magneto, it will run the light. Light's barely on at idle. Obviously, the light gets brighter as you accelerate. That's how you know your battery's dead. But it will still start. It's not part of the ignition. CT90, no.
It's not the same.
These are how much I like CT90s.
Yeah, that battery out of a CT7 or
CT90, yep,
is necessary for it to run.
When the customer brought that bike to me, he had this one in there. This is why I saved this. It's completely, it's hard as a rock. It's a stone. But he said it won't start. And I've done everything, and it won't start. And I actually took one of my Trail 70 batteries and plugged that in, did a little cheater wire, and started up on second kick. And he was like, wait, but that's how the spark is energized through the stator on a CT90.
And these Trail 70s,
they're going to run.
The Magneto setup, it's not
You
necessary.
don't need the battery there, but obviously you're going to tax it.
We've got also a stack of
plethora of parts.
Of more original parts over here. All stuff that's going to get cleaned up, restored, and made nice enough to go back onto the bike.
All spares.
I also have a huge box of some brand new parts, some of the consumable parts, and other than the piston and the top end that we're installing on it right now.
New tires.
Yeah,
taillight lens.
Most of what's going to go onto this bike is going to be original Honda stuff.
Yep.
But a few rubber pieces, things like that, and then the biggest thing I'm putting on this bike that isn't original, so there's.
And these are the original cylinder. And these are keepers. They're in fabulous shape. We could bolt them up and start riding with them. There's no issues. I'd hone the cylinder and we'd be done. It's really, well in spec.
The other than what we're doing to the motor for the time being, the biggest thing I'm going to put on this bike that won't be original is going to be the seat.
Yep, seat in this cup right here.
Yeah, and the Reproduction seat that I got for this bike comes from a company called CHP.
Yep.
It's the same seat that Andy has run on the CT70 he's ridden the most. You put thousands of hours on that bike and on that seat, and they're really faithful reproductions.
Yes, I really like them. There are a good couple of other companies out there that do it as well. This is my choice. I've been working with CHP Motorsports for quite a while, actually.
Yeah, not sponsored, but
non-sponsored. It is really, that's when you're one-stop shopping, those guys generally have what you need to do anything to a Trail 70.
Exactly. So, and that's one of the cool things about them is that all of these parts are still things that you can buy now, even though this bike is getting old.
54 years old.
Yeah, you can still go out and find the things that you need to keep them running, which is pretty cool. And a fun bike to work on because it's so simple. All the components are so small. It makes it an easier and a more fun time. So I'm very much looking forward to piecing this bike together. Like I said, I'm going to take video clips along the way, and very soon we'll have a video where this bike is running and riding, and I'm very much looking forward to that, because this is a bike that ever since we did the charity series, I've wanted one of my own, and having this 4-speed, factory original 4-speed in this pretty unusual shade of orange that you don't see around a ton is going to be a really cool bike.
It's really good that you're getting shots of this frame just the way it is right now, because people will be surprised how well this will clean up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also, too, the benefit we get being up here at a mile high, we're almost desert-like at times.
Yeah.
You can see, folks, there's
plenty of these that you see from other places. They rust.
Completely rusted out. Holes in them and all. These things are, every frame I have, the 17 I have left, it's amazing how well these things do up here. And you know they're Colorado frames because they're not, I've had frames come in from California or beachcombers that are absolutely roached.
Yeah.
Because they've been running around on the beach.
And this is one that's in really nice condition. All of these parts that we grabbed out of your inventory, this exhaust, the shield, the fender, the little skid plate, everything. We've got a lot of really nice parts here that we can put onto this bike, and it's going to be pretty amazing seeing how they shine up. Already, these parts look pretty decent, but by the time they go together on this bike, and the next video we put up, where this will be a roller, probably a runner as well, you might be surprised at how it looks. So that's all coming up very soon. I also, before I wrap up this video, want to say a quick thanks to Scott and the team over at Rider Justice. Not only myself, but Andy as well.
You bet.
We've met with Scott many
times.
Scott
is a wonderful man.
Worked with him a ton. He's a great guy. So if you're ever in an accident, either on 2 wheels or 4, make sure you call Scott first, because they're just the best people to work with. So that's all coming down the pipeline. Very long-winded, but you can probably tell we're really excited about putting this together.
No, this is also, cases here after work.
Yeah.
I've worked all day, but the energy level always goes up a whole nother notch when you start getting into this thing and start getting dirty. So
absolutely. So that's what's
coming
fun. Up. Yeah, you'll be seeing more videos with this bike. We'll go out, have some fun on it when it's all pieced together. We'll have video of that. So stay tuned. A lot of fun right down the line.
Yeah, buddy.
Absolutely. We'll see you in the next video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching.